afternoon and welcome to the Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association for Teachers' Worth. Tutor is very well aware of the silent but profound contributions of teachers, not just in the classroom, and hence they've embarked on this project. One teacher from each district will be chosen. So for this edition of A Teacher's Worth, we're chatting with Mr. Declan Tam. Now, he's a visual arts teacher, but also dean at the San Fernando Central Government School. Mr. Tam, thank you so much for joining us. So tell us a little bit about your career. I think a nice place to start maybe, why did you enter teaching? What was the motivation?
I didn't intend to be a teacher when I first started out. In fact, while I was in Jamaica in my final year, I had the opportunity to teach at a convent in Jamaica. This convent was quite a nice school. It was a big pink school. All the students wore white uniforms. They did their homework. They listened to me intently, all these young ladies. And quite frankly, it was quite a good experience. I just assisted in a program that was on a Thursday afternoon, and it was just for 1 hour. But I think that experience alone made me say, yes, I think this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. I came back to Trinidad. I was on a scholarship, OAS scholarship, and I almost did not take up any teaching in Trinidad. And this is because I think because the period was almost up, in which they were supposed to give me a job, the government that is. And probably about a day or two before the end of the period, somebody called me and they told me, Mr. Tam, I found a place for you. I found a school for you. It's close to home. When they told me it was close to home, my heart dropped, because when I came back to Trinidad, I wanted to teach somewhere far away from where I live. So I applied for Cedros, Mayaro, Toku, Tobago, but it so happened that the lady who processed my paper was taught by my mother.
So she kept you close to home?
She kept me close to home, but I suspect she didn't even look at the form. She just said, yes, this is Mrs. Tam's son, so therefore I'm going to put him close to home. And that's how I ended up at San Fernando Central, and I've been there ever since. I've been there ever since.
But visual arts, back when you would have studied it, it would have been a sort of taboo subject, and people were more on academics, law, this, that, and the other.
The thing about it, though, is that the visual arts, I think, there's still this kind of misconception that is not a serious subject. That's my take on it. But what I try to do is I actually try to convince parents, and I try to convince students that there are careers out there that you can actually use visual arts. For example, in design, there's a lot of design careers out there. Not only that, I also try to point out to children, whether they're in Form 1 or whether they're in Form 6, that art surrounds you. Everything that we do, every person practices visual art in some form, whether it's how you put on your makeup, your style and dressing, your choice of shoes, the kind of car that you buy, or how you paint your house or decorate your room. There's visual art in your life. And so therefore, it is something that is present all around us. It is something that that a lot of people don't realize that there's so much use and there's so much potential in it that you can do things with.
Have any of your students used visual arts and made it their career, and if so, how?
I have a number of students who have become art teachers. I have a number of students who have become graphic designers. I have one student who became an industrial designer. There are a lot of things. I have students who went into other careers, but they told me that they did art at university as a minor, and they still practice art up today. Yeah, the passion is still there. The passion is still there. Some of those students who actually had academic careers in mind, though, they told me that their spark for visual arts was sparked by my interest, or rather my showing them how they could communicate with the art. Art is never created in a vacuum. All of us, we will express art, and art always says something about us, or it says something that we want to talk about. So I try to teach children that from Form 1 right up to Form 6.
For instance.
All right, there's a project that I do every year. Now I do it with my lower formers. Very interesting project. It's called the Inside-Outside box. So the inside-outside box is really a shoebox. And on the outside of the shoebox, children are supposed to think about how people see them. What is the impression that they give people? How do people see me? So a lot of them will put very mute colors. They will put religion, books, a whole religious things, books and so forth, or ordinary things about them, how they think they're being seen. But inside of the box is supposed to be things that people don't see about them, people don't know about them, or people don't ask about them, or interests that they have that people don't know about. That's one way that I get children to actually speak through the art, and it's one that in the last couple of years actually we've actually myself and one of my other colleagues, the counselor at school, she realizes that the children actually express their feelings through the art.
They use it to show things that they wouldn't normally probably speak about.
That's right. That's right.
So it's just expression.
A number of children who are crying out for help, they will speak through the inside-outside box, and it's just through conversation. Conversation starts through the art, especially when they learn how to talk about the art. Right? So when they learn to actually put their images or their thoughts into something visual and then put it into words, they can actually express themselves better.
It seems as I'm getting like there's some psychology behind it.
I didn't always teach like that, you know. When I did my master's at the Ohio State University, and when I did it there, I actually learned I learned more about the art as a tool of communication. So I would tell my sixth formers that we're going to learn about aesthetics, we're going to learn about design, but the thing is that the art speaks. Art is not created in a vacuum. Whenever you create art, you want to say something, right? And I teach children that to speak through the art, speak through all art that they create.
You seem as though you're a favorite at the school with the students. What is it that you do differently that, you know, gets their interest? We're talking about secondary school students who probably mixed up hormones, they're just all over the place.
I came from a very well-to-do family. Always had food, always had clothes, always had a roof over our head, and I had a mother who inspired me, I think, to also be a teacher, and a father who was generous up to this day. I think he would give away the shirt on his back if he had a chance to do that. But the thing is that although it was a wonderful family, wonderful home, it wasn't perfect. I mean, that's like an ordinary family, but I think what makes me able to communicate with my students better is that I remember what it was like to be a student. I also remember what it was like in the awkward moments of being a teenager. And I took that into my teaching with me. And sometimes students may be trying to say something or they may not be saying something, but I could remember when I was that age how I felt about certain things. And I find that in the art room, if children have something to say, or something they want to discuss, I'm an ear and I don't mind listening. And the thing is that I think over the years I've kind of built up that relationship. I have I think I've kept in contact with almost all my generations of art students from since 1997 until present. I get birthday greetings from them. I get communication messages from them. Some of them who I don't remember, but who remember me well. And I can tell you, it makes me feel good that I was able to leave that good mark on earth when it's my time to go.
So is a sense of fulfillment, is that what teaching brings to you?
Yeah, I enjoy what I do. There was once a time when I'd get up in the morning, I was happy to go to work. I say once a time to do that, but over the pandemic, since the pandemic began, it has been difficult. I've had to find very creative ways to teach the visual art. This last year of students I had, we only had about 5 days of studio work. 5 days of studio work in almost 15 months. That was extremely difficult to watch online, watch artwork, try to get them to create things. It was just very, very difficult. I just thank God that all my students participated. All of them submitted their work. they did their journals, and we were able to talk and have a good, we made the best of it. You know, so.
So you've been challenged by the pandemic. Is there anything that could make learning easier?
One of the things that would make learning easier for me is this, is that I am not tech savvy. I would have liked it very much if since September of 2020, if some facility was actually set up whereby if I had technical difficulties using Microsoft Teams, for example, that there was some way or somebody I could talk to help me to use a breakout room or to use a whiteboard or to use the various features that the platforms have. But there's no one like that. So you know what I end up doing? I end up asking my Form 1s or my Form 2s while I'm teaching. Here it is, I need to do so and so. How you get into the room? And they will tell me, well, sir, it have 3 dots on the top. Now the thing is that they'd be rushing to tell me. And then after they would just guide me through as to how to do it, and they would end up teaching me, which I think makes the class even more interesting.
It's just amazing the way, pre-pandemic, the way we would have withheld all this technology and devices from students. And with the pandemic, you put it into their hands, and I'm telling you, from 7, 8-year-olds, they could teach us, as you say.
Well, the thing about it, though, is that I do believe that when I go into a classroom that I know everything. I actually believe that my students come into the classroom with a lot of information. And the thing about it is that I will teach the visual art, and they will teach me about the technology. They would also share their ideas as well about art too, because some of them actually come into my art classes with art skill. You know, so I learn things from them.
So, Mr. Tam, as we close, any advice for students, teachers like yourself?
I think that one of the key things that makes teaching successful for me and might be useful to teachers who are coming into the service is to remember what it was like being a student. And always you try to maintain that kind of communication with your students. You try to look for the signs, and you try to remember what it was like when you were in a classroom.
Thank you very much, Mr. Declan Tam. Tam, thank you so much for joining us. You never stop being a student. That's where we'll end it for this edition of A Teacher's Week.